it's me. My name's Sunday, if you haven't met me before. And I've just come off doing a most beautiful sacred circle grief course that I'm facilitating. And it's part of the Sitting with Death and Choosing Life program that is created by Rose Diamond, who I went into some training with her over the last couple of years. Actually, when this current situation started, that's what I call it. For some, you know how these opportunities arise and people just land in your life at the right time. And so looking at grieving, looking at grieving well, feelings, what grief is, how we don't do it so brilliantly. And I've just come off this call, but I this last week, because we're into the second week, of course, all my grief stuff's coming up, and it occurred to me October is a time when it's a sort of anniversary of when things really, when my adult children disappeared out of my life. And it was 5 years ago when everybody was gone and grandchildren gone, and so 2016 was my annus horribilis horrible year, horrible. And after 10 years of toing and froing, finally everybody was gone. And so it's 5 years since I've physically seen any of my children or my grandchildren. And there's people who have been separated from family through this current situation for a considerable length of time. And there's a yearning to get back in contact with family who are at the other side of the world or wherever they are. And I'm just thinking my thoughts sometimes, well, mostly I'm in a good place around it. I can have empathy for these people who have been separated by this current situation. And there's so many of us who are separated because our children have voted with their feet and gone out of our lives. And tonight I was sharing how grief has really opened me up on another level, really. It was massive losing my children like that. Whether I feel it's justified or the fact remains that they've gone out of my life and I don't see them. I don't have that connection with them anymore, not that physical connection anyway. And my grandchildren, the next generation. And I did get to be a granny for 4 years and loved it. And then that ended. And it's a difficult thing to talk about in a way, because the people who are involved are still alive. When you have some trauma or some relationship problem, it always seems difficult to talk about it without sounding like you're being a victim or you're blaming or you're shaming or whatever it is. And and I can talk about it now and not have that energy at all around it. It is what it is. And it's been the worst and best thing that's ever happened in my life. And yesterday I went to, it's funny, I don't know where to begin. Because when this happened to me, I didn't even know that there was such a thing as estrangement. I didn't even know what that was. In my world, I was sort of rejected by my adult children. That was the word I had at the time. And it is that, my kids have said, no, I don't want you anymore, and gone. And I was one of those chasers, I chased. And it didn't stand me in good stead, because 3 times I'd police stuff going on, and it was me banging on a door that was shut, bolted, with lots of furniture at the other side of it, you know, and I kept knocking on the door and I kept getting hurt, and eventually I gave up. But yesterday I got a real sense of, you know, I went and had a coffee in where I used to live, which is about 5-6 miles away from where I currently live, but the energy's so different where I used to live with my family, you know, my family of creation, which was different again to the family that of my birth, which was farming. So I moved from farming culture, very, very loud, vibrant, you know, the environments that we're born into. I wonder if there's anybody who really likes the environments they're born into. So it just seems to be everybody has a problem with their upbringing, you know, and I think that's a sign of the times, you know. I think as we evolve as human beings through this current event that we're going through, we're beginning to see just how things don't work, you know, the way we've set things up, the family, the smallness of the family. It takes a village to raise a child, you know, and like we don't have that in this culture. So the family that I was born into was very vibrant, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Volatile, excitable, not particularly relaxing, very rush, very dewy, very pushy, very, just, you had to be on your guard. There was no resting, you know, none of this lolling around, and you know, had to learn how to be lazy. And then, sounds funny that, doesn't it? And then I got married and had a family, and created another setting that wasn't particularly didn't vibrate. It did at the beginning, but you know, you try and morph yourself to fit in. I never really got to be me. You know, and there's a sadness in that, you know, I never really got to be me. Because actually I didn't know who me was at that point. I was still sort of trying it on. But then as I got older, I realised that as I was evolving and changing, other people either don't want you to evolve and change, or they're unable to evolve and change with you, you know. And I so wanted my family to come with me. You know, I was always being the adventurous, you know, always said sort of yes to things that I had an inquiring mind, an exploring mind, you know. And so I went off and did all these courses and like started to expand my awareness and my understanding of me, and poked around in my behaviours. Relationships have always been my thing. I've always been fascinated by myself and how I relate with other people, and why it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, you know. And I've always been poking around in stretching myself, you know, like anything that scared me, I would like, okay, well, I need to do that, you know, that sort of thing. Especially around emotional and psychological stuff, you know, I would push myself into spaces and places that were jolly uncomfortable, and yet there was something inside of me. You know how you have this sense that you've got this soul that's like, it's come with a set of instructions, and you sort of like, sometimes it's driving the bus and you think, I'm sure that I'm not choosing to do this, but there's something inside that's almost forcing you down this. And I do get it, you know, I do get it that there's some inner thing in us all that if we ignore it, we get ill, you know. And you have to follow this sort of instruction. Maybe it's just me, I don't think it is, but maybe it is me. And as I started to grow, from when my mum died when I was 35, and you know, you sort of think, well, what's life all about? And then my dad died when I was 41, so there were those years where I was questioning life, you know, like, why am I here? What is the purpose of all of this? What a bloody mess we all live in. And so I took myself off onto various adventures, and in some ways, I suppose, I separated myself from my family, and so that I could be me, because I guess that I always had this belief that I didn't have permission to be me. And now I've living with somebody that I love. I live in a home that I love. It's got peace, it's got calm, you know, and I'm facilitating, I'm coaching, I'm supporting people to stretch into their soul-driven feelings, you know, and it's such a delight to witness people opening up and opening their hearts, opening their minds, having different ways of doing things, different ways, different beliefs, and yet coming together in that shared humanity, and you know, facilitating that. It is my absolute delight, you know, and seeing people's eyes pop, you know, and another level of awareness of who we are and how we do ourselves, and it's so lovely. And so when I was in this coffee shop in my old hometown, I just got that sense of energy that, you know, and I was a heaviness, a real heaviness of, and I'm sad that, you know, that was like that, you know, and that I had that sense of, oh, just heavy and limited and contained. And I guess I always was a free spirit, somebody who was going to do it her own way, I suppose. And when I started to do it my own way, that I had to get over the feeling of being selfish, you know, like because I'd been raised to put other people first, you know, and I did have that question. I thought, who am I doing my life for, really? Am I doing it for myself, or am I doing it for others? You know, and I still struggle with putting me first, you know, like in that way, because I've had to fight to be me, really. And then I can see how I created that, you know. It's like I had to fight to be me with my dad, and you know, he used to say, Sunday, you can be anything you want, but just go milk those cows first. And I had to do his will, you know, I just had to do his will. And, you know, there was benefits to that, but there was also loss to that. And this giving myself permission to make my own choices and determine my own travel of direction in life, and getting argy-bargy when people put things in my way. You know, if somebody said you can't do that, or you shouldn't be doing that, you know, and it would be like wind underneath my wings then, because I'd think, oh, well, I'm going to do it. And some people were really disappointed with what I chose to do, you know, and I moved away from their perception of how I was supposed to be in relationship with them. And now I feel like comfy in my skin, you know, like I've got the stuff around me, I do the stuff that I want. You know, I go to circles and I sing in circle with women, and go hang out in teepees and go sit round fires and do ceremonies and wear funny clothes, you know, like hippie clothes. And I had feathers in my hair a couple of years ago, you know, and I've got a small tattoo, and and you know, I've done sweat lodges, and you know, and I've got naked in women's circles, and I've done a bit of tantra work, I've done a bit of voice work, you know, and getting past my self-consciousness and that self-conscious thing, you know, when you're talking to yourself in your head and thinking, like, I hope people aren't watching me when I'm doing this, that sort of thing. I've pushed through all of that, so I can go into these spaces that other people might find really difficult to be in, you know, and shared my truth, and I you know, and that's how I want to live my life, you know. I want to be connected at that level, and then now, you know, leading grief courses, facilitating grief courses, and helping people to access their deep knowingness inside, you know, and their deep feelings, and having fun with it too, you know, like, how do you have fun exploring grief, you know, and the transformational nature of grief, you know, how it brings us wisdom, it's certainly done that for me. It's brought me wisdom around myself. It's allowed me to access my feelings. It's allowed me to fall in love with myself. And you know, there was a time when I was so stuck in my grief, I thought I was depressed, and actually nobody ever said to me, I think you're grieving. You know, I'd go to the doctor and they'd just give me medicine to sort of numb my feelings down, and so that I could still carry on at work, when really, when you're in deep grief, you just need to stay home and eat good food, or be looked after, probably. You know, and it's that sort of world, you know, slowing down and being present to people, and supporting people to deal with themselves and their feelings. It's magic, it really is. There was a time when I thought I'd lost me, you know, like lost the Sunday that I was, which loud, outgoing, playful, up for anything, you know, like force of nature, you know, and just vibrant. And I just died, you know. I had so much loss in such short period of time. You know, mum, dad died, dad died. I lost my marriage, I lost my children. I had a boyfriend who committed suicide. I lost my job. I changed home about 3 times. And then I just like went into a deep, dark place. I thought, where am I? I've gone. I've lost her. And then she's come back, and she's got knobs on now. And, you know, like, and I wouldn't change it, you know. And I think about my girls a lot, just lately, a real lot. And I'm sure that they can feel me thinking. And I'd love to be back. Maybe back's not the right word. I'd love to be in each other's lives again. And I feel ready now. There was a time when I was so scared of them. And I feel ready now. I don't know if they get to see. I'm blocked everywhere, so I don't get to see. But it would be lovely. And I've been fantasizing a little bit about seeing them, and you know, how I'd just have a big beam on my face and say hi, you know, because my heart's open now. It's not shielded like it was. And I'm not going to chase. I'm not going to chase. I'm just going to send the lovely energy out. And I've got grandchildren who are 4 of them under 10, and 2 of them will remember me. I think 3 of them might, actually, and 1 of them won't, because I didn't get to see him. But the other 3, I think, will remember me. I must be this mysterious woman that was around, and where did she go? And why? You know, and I don't know what they hear. And yeah, it's been such a journey. And if you are an estranged parent, you'll know. You will know. And if you're not in the group, I've got a group called Healing Parents. If you want to ask to join, just ping me a message or ask to join. Healing Parents of Estranging Adult Children. And also I'll be running more grief courses, possibly before Christmas, maybe, because I think it's really valuable work to go through the process of loss and grief. You know, it's a conversation that's definitely worth having. And it's not all doom and gloom. There is a bit of fun in there as well. A bit of lightness. I just feel very blessed. So I shall love you and leave you. I think, I don't know, it looks like there's lots. I'm going to put my glasses on, just see. Oh, there's Miranda and Dawn and Marlene and Patricia and 2 Patricias and lots of Mirandas. I never realised. Hang on, I'm coming down to that bit. Darcy, Angelique, it's lovely seeing you. I never realised we were so close in our estrangement years. 4 years for me last month. I hope one day you will see your children and grandchildren, all the growing you have done, and myself included. We do deserve it, don't we? Yeah, I see you, Darcy. I see a lot of people, Ruth, I see a lot of people in Healing Parents doing their stuff, exploring who we are and how we get through this, and don't let it close our hearts and minds and life down, because that's what it has a tendency to do. There's that saying, isn't there, you either get better or bitter. You know, and I so didn't want to be bitter, and I so didn't want to not have a life. You know, and yeah, it's been a journey and a half. And if I'd have known, I'd have still had them. Little monkeys. Patricia, oh bless you. Okay, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to have a bath, and I've got to finish the washing up. I just left some pots in the sink, and yeah, I feel very nourished, and I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful, Patricia Hensey. Okay, lots of love. Night night. Sleep tight. Love you lots. Bye.